Welcome back to this week's edition of the AFL Europe podcast and another segment of the Irish Down Under series. This time we are joined by one of the greats for the season that just passed, Aish McCarthy from the West Coast Eagles. Aish, thank you so much for your time and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
I guess third season now, done and dusted for yourself and the Eagles. What's the emotions right now as you look back on your third season in the AFLW?
Yeah, it went really quick was the first thing. I suppose it's hard to believe that the 9-game season is just over there, but it was really enjoyable. It was a little bit daunting, obviously, to move to a new club this year, but I'm so thankful to all the staff and players and how welcoming they were. And I just think that a lot of the off-field logistics were sorted out by the club, and the only thing I had to worry about was playing football and trying to improve as a player. And I think that the club was very good at helping me to develop, and I really enjoyed my season. I'm really looking forward to what we can do as a group going forward.
Ash, yeah, we'll touch on that again in a second. Obviously, you've had the injury recently and you've missed a couple of games throughout the season. You've been in sensational form. Can you give us a quick update on the current status of the injury that ruled you out of round 9?
Yeah, I suppose thinking back now, I've actually missed a third of the season. So I missed a game during the year as well with my other knee, but I pulled up okay after that. And then 2 minutes into the Richmond game in round 8, I kicked the ball and a girl kind of followed through my legs. So I thought it was a dead leg at first. I ran off, but I was in a lot of pain, so I couldn't actually get back onto the field. And I got scans last week and it says that I'm after doing a high-grade LCL ligament and a few other little minor things. So, the mood wasn't great during the week. I had to meet a surgeon and thought that I might need surgery, but he's pretty confident that if I stay in a brace for 6 to 8 weeks, that I should be okay, won't require surgery, and then hopefully I'll be back playing in 4 months. So, at the moment, with everything up in the air at home as well, with Gaelic football, we don't know what the story is. So I'm just hoping that I might get pushed back a little bit and I don't miss too much of that either. But at the moment, I'm just concentrating on doing my rehab and resting up and trying to get back on the field as soon as possible.
So, Ash, as you mentioned there, you missed the best part of a game, even though you played. So 7 games for the season, an average of, I've got it written down here, 14.1 disposals. So we'll take a game off that and we'll add some average disposals in. How do you sort of look back on your own personal season?
Obviously, I had to step up, I think, a lot this year. Dana Hooker, who's probably our star player in Eagles, got injured after round 1. So I think a lot of us just had to step up, and I think it really did help me to push myself and become more of a leader and start thinking and leading the way on the field. So I think in a way it was probably a blessing for my football that I had to step up. Obviously, though, I'm looking forward to having Hooks back playing and being able to play alongside such a good player. But as you said, it's the stats and stuff like that are such a big thing over here, which we wouldn't really get into much at home. But yeah, I do feel like I got on the ball quite a bit, just trying to help get the ball going forward, which is my job. And just as long as I was playing my role, I was happy. And I think each week I was getting a little bit better and improving. And it's just disappointing now, obviously, to end the year with an injury, and also that it's over so quick, because I feel the more games you have, the better you can get. But I'll have to wait till next year now to continue my development.
For sure, Aisling, and you've hit the nail on the head there. I think, the more games you play, the better you get and the more familiar you get with the game, and that goes for everyone. In your third season now, you're really reveling and settled in that kind of centre role, that midfield role. Are you finding that yourself on the ground, and that you're a bit more comfortable with the game now after 3 seasons, the rules and that, and it's a lot more natural? It definitely looks like you're playing in a lot more natural style across the last season.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose there's a lot you have to think about in the first couple of seasons. You're learning the game, you're learning the rules, and I think that takes a lot of time to get used to. But I suppose this year, when you they're more natural, as I said, and you don't have to be second guessing yourself, I think I was able just to play some better football. And, a lot of people say midfield is probably a difficult position to play, but I actually see it as quite a simple position, because it's just hunting the football really, and that's my role. It's see football, get football, and I just go out each week trying to get the football, or if I don't, I'm putting pressure on or attacking the opposition players so they don't get a good disposal away. So in my head, I've broken it down into quite a simple game, and it's definitely helped me. And obviously then in the background, I'm learning a lot from other players and coaches, and more of the high level stuff now that I probably wasn't able to bring into my game in the first couple of seasons. And I'm definitely able to think of those kind of higher level things now, like different structures around centre bounces and stoppages and stuff. So it's good to be able to bring my game and education around the game to a higher level again.
It seemed, you probably touched on this earlier, Ash, and sorry if I'm going over old ground, but you sort of seemed to sort of carry the load of the midfield throughout the early part of the season. But then as the season progressed, there was more and more help for you, particularly from, I guess, the Kelly sisters being two of them that really stood up and helped. How did you see the group and the season? You know, did you feel like you took steps forward to, you know, a positive 2022?
Yeah, definitely. And like, it is only the second year that West Coast is in the competition. So I think when it comes to that, you have to remember that you're playing against teams that have had 5 pre-seasons together, and, you know, and they're well settled in their positions. And we've come up against formidable midfield groups in the different games we've played. But I think a positive is we did get it put through a lot of players through our midfield. So even Niamh Kelly has got a stint there, and we've young girls like Bella Lewis and Michaela Bone as well, who were only 18 and 19, and they were stepping up as well. So it's great that we've been able to rotate a good few players through that position, and, you know, that's probably where they could end up playing in years to come. And it's good that at such a young age they've been able to step up and get time in there. So I do think we have taken a lot of positive steps forward. Unfortunately, the loss yesterday against St Kilda probably put a bit of a dampener on the season. But I think as a whole, we do think that the season was a good like season for us, and we definitely, you know, are going to celebrate that. We have a review tomorrow about the season, and I think as a whole it was definitely positive.
It certainly was, Aisling, and all the main stats, I suppose, point to that. The average disposals per game, the average goals per game are all up on last year for the Eagles. So everything's pointing in the right direction. And as you've said, players getting runs through different positions and stuff. I suppose one of the highlights for us watching here at home is seeing yourself and Eve and Grace playing together for the first time. I think you've, by default, nearly become a third sister there, by all accounts as well. But I suppose from us watching in, we're starting to see, especially towards the second half of the season, some really nice link-up play and almost some Irish ladies football influence coming in some of the ways you girls have linked up. I'm sure that's not pre-planned and it's just coming off the cuff and stuff. But firstly, how are you finding playing with the two girls? And do you find that there's that kind of ladies football synergy that comes in every now and again, where you guys can kind of read where you're going to be and linking up and hand passes and stuff like that probably some of the other players see as a bit unpredictable?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, we have a good relationship on the field, and it probably comes from our Gaelic football background and just knowing where we might run, because the patterns are probably more Gaelic football like. And then obviously Niamh and Grace, being sisters, they always know where each other are on the field. So it's great to have them. And I think our game plan as well has utilised their speed. But yeah, it's my job to get it out of the contested packs and get the ball on the outside to like those players. And, you know, they've had a phenomenal season as well. You know, they've scored a lot of goals and they've been involved in nearly everything when the ball is up front. So no, it's been brilliant to have them. Just even living with them as well, being able to come home after training our game and debrief and have that kind of same mindset, because we're coming from the same Gaelic football background. So it's just nice to have them. And, you know, it was great to have familiar faces as well on my first day walking into a new club. So they've been brilliant at helping me settle into Perth. And then obviously I'm really enjoying playing with them on the field too.
Led that in for me perfectly. How was the transition from, I guess, Western Bulldogs based in Melbourne over to the West Coast Eagles based in Perth? How's that been? What were the challenges and what did you enjoy about it?
Yeah, I suppose the challenging thing was actually the move, I suppose, because it's not a natural thing for a Gaelic footballer to move to a different team. You play with the same team all your life, really. So that was probably the biggest challenge in telling my old teammates, but everyone gave me, well wishes really when I made the move. So that was really important that I did have that support from my old teammates and Bulldogs. But yeah, Perth is a totally different city as well. You know, it's a lot quieter, it's more beach-like. So it is different, but I'm very grateful that I'm able to play sport and get to see, you know, two different parts of the world in Australia. So, you know, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And I think straight away when I came out of quarantine, I met a couple of the girls And it was just great that they were so supportive of me when I came into the club, and I'm really enjoying it. And as I kind of mentioned as well, it is a new club, so it's just really exciting as well, being involved in a team that's developing, and there's no real ceiling on where we can go, I think, is the main thing. And that in a few years, I think that we will be a very, very good team, and I'm really excited to be part of building towards that.
Aisling, there's been huge interest in the competition this year at home, even more so than normal. We touch on it with all the girls that come on with us here. Obviously, as a result of TG Cahir showing the games every weekend, and now 2 full games a weekend and a highlight show every Monday night. And there's great support here as well from Gym Plus Coffee, and I know you're a brand ambassador for them. But again, they're sponsoring the coverage on TG Cahir. They're sponsoring our Irish Player of the Year. You're a brand ambassador, so they're an Irish company showing huge support to women's AFLW. Are you picking up on some of the feedback from back home in relation to the games being shown on TG Cahir and that level of awareness, and I suppose just also maybe to comment on your role with Gym Plus Coffee as an ambassador and their support to the game in general?
Yeah, I think, TG Cahir are brilliant. They really lead the way with regards promoting women in sport. They've done that with ladies football, and now obviously with the AFLW. So it's been brilliant, I think, just for family and friends to be able to tune in and have such accessibility to the game, which I think is really good. And there's so many Irish girls involved, so it's brilliant that you are able to watch it. And then also you mentioned Gym Plus Coffee, which is a fantastic brand, and they've backed TG Cahir as well. So I'm very honoured to be a brand ambassador for them. I think they're a super company as well that promotes physical activity and also women in sport as well. And I think they've done a great job at helping highlight the AFLW at home. And then also obviously they're great supporters of the AFL Ireland Player of the Year as well. So it's brilliant to have them on board, and I think it just shows that they are a great company because they do things that are really important to them, and they back it up by doing things like that. So I'm just really honoured to be involved with them, and I think it's really great for our friends and our families to be able to see the games at home.
Speaking of AFL in Ireland, Ash, you sort of mentioned there, speak to us about your first involvements with the game. I believe you were part of the Irish Banshees side that played in the Carnival in 2018. How was your early exposure to the game? And no doubt Mike was pretty heavily involved as well.
Yeah, I met Mike that year for a few skills sessions, and we ended up going over to Australia, obviously, for the cross-coders trial. And since then, my interest in AFLW grew, and I just wanted to get more involved in the game. So I was really grateful to be involved in that AFL Europe competition, and it was just probably my first exposure to playing a competitive game. So I really enjoyed it. I think it just brought out my competitive streak, and obviously it was challenging. I still was probably new to some of the rules and stuff like that. But I think I really enjoyed it, and it was great to be able to meet other people across Ireland that were interested in the game as well. And I think it really helped my development that I did do that. And that year then I got drafted a couple of weeks later, and I think being able to play those games really did help with getting drafted as well. So it was brilliant to get an early exposure to the game before coming out to Australia.
And Ash, of course, we did some skill sessions in UL as well this year with the pre-season being put back and you girls' departure being delayed with COVID and all of that, and we worked with most of the players. We actually had our first kick with you and the Kellys down in UL. How did you find the build-up and the delayed departure with the COVID and the pre-season? Did you just kind of get on with it and do as much as you could here as soon as the LGFA was finished? And then when you arrived in Australia, obviously you had quarantine and all that to get through as well. So it's a distant memory now, I'm sure, but was all that a help in your preparation to head out for this season?
Yeah, obviously it can be tough to juggle the two. I think when I'm at home playing ladies football, you're kind of in that mode, and the AFL probably does take a little bit of a backseat, but it is important that you kind of keep the skills up. So I thought the skill sessions were really helpful, just to even get the eye back in, the touch, and just being clean with the ball. So it was really helpful then just to have that and the confidence that those sessions went well as well, and that I'd be okay getting back into training. And then obviously we were late, so we missed the first 6 weeks of pre-season before Christmas. And then I only got out of quarantine to get training with the team in January. So I did think it was quite rushed, missing the pre-season. And I think when I was in quarantine as well, the news broke that the league would actually start a week earlier too. So I was freaking out a little bit, to be honest, because heading to a new team, I had to try to prove myself and the time was ticking really. But I'm just glad that when I was given the chance in the practice game and at trainings that I just tried to do my role and just be confident in my own skills, and thankfully it worked out. But I was having little doubts definitely when I was in quarantine because the time was short, but it was great. The club were really supportive of us playing Gaelic football, and I think that was the main thing, that we had the support from the club.
Taking out your rehab for your recent injury, what's your sort of plans moving ahead over the next sort of 1 month, 6 months? Are you planning on staying out? Are you coming home? What's do you know what you're doing just yet?
Well, the specialist that I'm under actually wants to reassess my knee at 6 weeks. So he's 95% confident that it should have tightened up by then. But if not, I'll need surgery at that time. But obviously he doesn't think that would be the case. So I'm going to stay here for him to reassess it, just to have the same eyes looking at my knee that saw it on day one. So that will have me here for 6 weeks. And then I actually can't do anything really at the moment with that leg. So I think it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of muscle wastage and stiffness once I come out of the brace. So I'm thinking I might then maybe potentially get back running over here. And then when I get home, I obviously have to do quarantine, so I can continue my rehab in quarantine and then hopefully get back into the tip setup then. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of taking each week as it is. But I know I'll be here for 6 weeks anyway. And then hopefully get home soon enough and not miss too much Gaelic football. But obviously everything's up in the air and the government have to make some announcements over the coming days and weeks. So I'll just have to see what happens at home in Ireland and kind of make my plans going from there.
And Aish, of course, there's been the Irish girls have been a bit unlucky with injuries this year, and that can be purely coincidence, of course. But with a few of the girls kind of suffering various injuries at various times in the season, looking in, it would seem that the game is now physically tougher, stronger, more competitive, faster. As a player, would that be a fair assessment? I'm not saying that that's contributing directly to the injuries, but it's definitely a much more physical game as the seasons have progressed.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the girls are getting bigger and stronger, and even like the 18-year-olds that were drafted this year, they're physically really built, which, is lifting the standards in the game and also the physicality. So, yeah, definitely. Like, obviously when something's more physical, there's a higher chance of injury in that. But I think a lot of it has just been unlucky as well. We're going through the list of all the Irish girls that got injured, and there's probably only a couple of people that have escaped injury. So it's a little bit scary, but I suppose that's what sport is, and there is always that chance. So it's disappointing that a lot of the girls have missed out. And even, for example, Anya Tighe, who hasn't even got the opportunity yet to play. So hopefully she comes through this year and we can get to see her on the field next year playing AFLW, because I'm sure she'll be super. But I suppose the physicality probably does lead to it, but you can't really go out on the field thinking about getting injured either. But definitely, it is a way more physical game than Gaelic football anyway.
Last one from me, Aish. I guess we've sort of seen the season. 9 weeks has flown past. I guess 6 teams left. How do you see the rest of the season playing out, and who do you think is going to take out the premiership?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I suppose the top 6 have all been playing each other over the last couple of weeks, and they've been really, really good games. Very high intensity and close as well. So I'm actually not sure, to be honest. Brisbane look like they've been able to beat some of the very top teams, and they've had a good run of it. So they look good. And then I think Collingwood as well, just the way they play their game, their handballing game, getting out of the contested areas and getting the ball out to the outside, and they have super talent, and with Ashton Sheridan and Chloe Malloy up in the forwards as well, and that and their midfield group I think is probably one of the best in competition. So maybe we'll go with Collingwood, but I'm not sure. It literally could be anyone that will end up winning the premiership this year.
For sure, I think it's very tight up there. Aisling, look, we won't delay you any longer. Thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations on a brilliant season for yourself personally. We look forward to seeing you back next year, no doubt, and hopefully the recovery and the rehab from the injury goes smoothly and you're back running and playing in the tip colours again before the summer's out. But thanks a million for your time and for coming on, and the best of luck with everything.
Thanks for having me, guys.